Well, the road takes you through some scary places. None perhaps.
New York City. I'm here.
CBSN Workspace. Major, great to see you. Fewer than 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, with work to do in any of the 13 battleground states just to choose from, spends some quality time yesterday, albeit, as he said, for his family in Washington, D.C., to cut the ribbon at a hotel. Mike Pence, meanwhile, in Utah, trying to keep a historically red state red. What do you make of the optics of those choices, if nothing else?
That it's a campaign under stress. It's a campaign that is devoting at least some of its attention to the afterlife, post-election reality of a Trump business that has properties and a brand that's also under stress. And look, Trump is pushing back aggressively. Why are you criticizing me? I did lots of events. I'm working hard. I'm working harder than Hillary Clinton. Fine. That's all true. Fair enough. But do you want, Mr. Trump, and all of your supporters to be looking at the election results November 9th and asking yourself a couple of painful questions, such as, what if I spent more time here? What if we invested more in get out the vote efforts here? Because once that election is over, this election is over, and it's now that election, all those choices resonate and live in your memory if you lose, and especially if you lose closely. Now, I'm not projecting that Donald Trump's going to lose. Even his closest advisors admit, when they talk to me, it's a very steep ramp. Everything has to break. The great hunch behind the Trump campaign has to not only carry Trump across the finish line, but defy every single scientific method of measuring likely outcomes in presidential politics. And that is, in theory, possible. And it would be the great guffaw of all time in American politics for the Trump supporters and the Trump campaign to be able to say, I told you so. All you ignoramuses underrated us and missed this great movement in American politics. It's all theoretically possible. But as I talk to Clinton field operatives in the battleground states, they still feel confident. And this is not the week for confidence in a presidential campaign if you're ahead. This is the week for frantic anxiety if you're ahead, because you're wondering, oh my God, is it going to slip through our fingers? They still feel confident. Everything has to break Trump's way, everything. So 6 hours in D.C., yeah, a little fundraiser, but a ribbon cutting, time away from the campaign trail. It may come back to haunt not just Trump, but those who fervently believe not only that he can win, but that he should win.
It was a big ask, to be sure. After that, though, he did make his way to North Carolina. And we heard him, for the first time, really lay into the Iraqi-led charge to take back Mosul. But there was a Donald Trumpian feel even to that. Did he veer off a script there?
Sure did. And it's interesting, that was in Kinston, North Carolina, airport rally, very small town in eastern North Carolina, good-sized crowd. But earlier in the day, he was in Charlotte, and he gave what the campaign described as a major speech on urban renewal and all sorts of ideas for tax incentives, even allowing some urban communities to declare themselves disaster areas so they could receive federal assistance. It's an idea I've never heard of before. I haven't really dug into it as much as I'm going to, but it's certainly an interesting concept. But that was completely overtaken by other things that Trump said that were off script. And yes, Trump supporters love it when he says, just win against ISIS. Just bomb the S out of them. Be aggressive about it. Fair enough. And there's certainly an appetite for that. People are certainly weary in this country of inconclusive battlefield engagements that seemingly go on for years and years and years. So they want a decisive victory. But what Trump skips over and what military strategists have pushed back on is the idea that urban warfare is A, quick, easy. You want to avoid civilian casualties. ISIS has ringed Mosul with improvised explosive devices. You have an Iraqi military that still needs to be trained up for this kind of action. So when Trump says it's going slow, and it wouldn't go slow if I was president, military advisors say, seriously, if you're commander-in-chief, you've got to understand these underlying realities and appreciate them Maybe you don't have to give in to them rhetorically, but you need to understand them.
But even if that tough talk has been a part of a tacit script, if you will, collectively, it's the stepping over the line where he's, again, yesterday says, I know more than military leaders in this country know.
Right.
My gut. No, I mean, we've heard this from him before, but it seems that what was once spoke to the essence of the campaign, certainly in the primary season, now, when it seems people are demanding more, that's exactly what they don't want.
Right. And this goes back to our first conversation about can Trump win this? Because he essentially is presenting himself to the country as the irreplaceable figure, the one and only on every battlefront. ISIS, changing Washington, draining the swamp, reviving the economy. Everything, he is the only person capable of doing that. That's never been something our country has been comfortable with, like a kingly orientation to the presidency. That's point one. Point two, when you talk to Trump supporters, among the first things they say is, well, I sure hope he gets good people around him. They really fundamentally believe that. And they say, and I believe he will, because he's going to need really good people around him. So even they don't buy the idea that he is the singular force for good and solutions to all these various problems. But Trump continues to project himself that way. It's the only way his personality allows him to view the job of the presidency. That's now clear. Whether the country can be comfortable with that and will grow comfortable with that is one of the great last unanswered questions of this campaign.
Where's the road taking you?
Cleveland. That I know. After that, I'm not sure. Something, I think I've heard the word Cedar Rapids mentioned, so maybe we'll be in Iowa.
A town you know well.
I do. I know all the towns in Iowa very well.
The mayoral campaign for Major begins thusly. It's a couple of weeks away. Major Garrett, as always, warrior.
Glad to be here.